Thank you for the kind introduction there, Kate. And yeah, thanks for the opportunity to be here today. It's a big room and really good to see everybody here. So I'd like to introduce you and tell you a little bit about the Alchemy story today. Alchemy is quite a small company. We've got a market cap of about 8.2, standing still today as we are, with an enterprise value of about 7, which is probably one of the smaller companies around at the moment. But we've got a big heart. We've got an experienced board of management. My chairman, Lindsay Dudfield, just did probably about a $500 million deal this week with his other company, Jindalee Lithium. And myself, I've got experience of about 20 years across many assets and commodities, formerly in broking as well. So I'd like to think that I probably know how to run a company and drive some upside, I'd hope. And the rest of the board has a lot of depth and experience in multi-asset and multi-commodity across a lot of Australian assets. Without sort of sounding like a company that sort of talks about having every commodity in the book under the hood, we do have a few. We've got focusing largely on gold and copper, obviously at the moment, being in vogue. But we also have lithium, as mentioned, with the joint venture, and we have an iron ore. We didn't just buy these assets, they all came from within the portfolio with Alchemy, and they're organically driven, and we hope to drive value in these assets, and some of them are quite advanced, as I'll show you next. So just looking across the portfolio, all within Australia, the primary asset at the moment, the Lachlan, New South Wales asset out near Cobar. Yellow Mountain's a high-grade copper-gold asset just north of Mineral Hill, and about 200 k's south of Cobar along the Gilmore Suture. About 10 or 20 kilometres just down the road from that, we have the Overflow asset. It's 342,000 ounces of gold equivalent in resource. And we have a high-purity alumina and nickel-cobalt asset up near Cobar. At Coroni, as Kate mentioned, we have a 100% owned position in the Battery Belt, obviously with lithium in focus. All of our ground surrounds a nearby lithium deposit. And we have 111,000 ounces of gold in resource surrounding one of the local gold mines. We also have the lithium joint venture with JOGMEC, and that's a great position to be in, fully funded and free carried. In the Briar, which sits near Meekatharra, we have a gold joint venture with Catalyst Metals, and we're also free carried on that. And we also have on that ground just adjacent to that, we have a high-grade iron ore opportunity, which I'll talk about. Just looking at New South Wales, this map, the top end of that screen is Cobar, where Metals Acquisitions Corp's currently exiting CSA and selling to Harmony, I think it is. And the bottom end of the belt is where Mineral Hill is owned by Kingston Resources. And we have 3 assets. We have Yellow Mountain there, you can see. It's about 10 kilometres north of Mineral Hill. And that's our high-grade copper at surface. I've got another little prospect next door to that called Melrose, high-grade gold there as well. And largely due to access restrictions, there's been no modern exploration for about 4 decades until about 2 weeks ago when we drilled it. Looking at Overflow, as mentioned, there's a 342,000 ounce gold equivalent resource. It's open along strike and at depth, and a lot of opportunity there. And we mentioned West Lynn with the nickel cobalt resource and the HPA, the high purity alumina optionality there. I'll just zoom in on Yellow Mountain there to the south. So this is a snapshot of the area where we're sort of focusing on within the Yellow Mountain prospect. Historic drilling intercepts on that, 24 metres at 1.12% copper, 1.2% lead and 1% zinc from surface, from 0 metres. Another intercept there, 52 metres at half gram gold, 0.3 copper, 35 grams silver and 1.15% lead. They're nothing to be shirked at, and they're very significant grades today. Most of these holes were never assayed for gold. They were smelting the copper locally from the 1800s all the way to probably the 1970s with exploration, which was the last exploration that was carried out. We went there in 2024 and we did some rock chipping along the strike of those sort of yellow boxes there that you can see, which have outlined as the target areas for now. And we sampled some of the mullock around the old, existing old timers mine shafts there. And this is the stuff they were throwing away. And that second result there, we got 28.4% copper, 1.6 gram gold and 7% lead. And it's not reflective of in situ grades, but this is the stuff they were throwing away. We went and did some rock chips just to the north there, and the gear that was coming out of the ground, the in situ material outcropping, 2.05% copper and 2.3 grams gold and 8.5% lead. So it's there. And so we decided to drill it, and that drill program was completed about 10 days ago. So Great thing to actually say at a conference would be to hear to have results, but thanks to the lab being slow, I have to put assay results pending. So we'll expect those results when they come in, and we'll share them with the market if they're significant. Just moving to the north to Overflow, the 342,000 ounce maiden resource at 1.3 grams gold equivalent. That consists of gold, copper, lead, zinc, silver. Again, historic intercepts there. This is a sort of a plan along strike from above. 6 metres at 7.6, 10 metres at 4.4 gold. They're significant, and then you get a tail-end credit of zinc and lead on that as well, and there is some copper there as well. We did some mapping and sampling. We tried to go and deconstruct the whole thing, start from scratch, rebuild the structural model and learn from basics. And we did some rock chipping there, 22.7 grams gold, right in the guts of the deposit at surface. No one had ever mined it. And this was all mined by the old timers. A lot of old wooden shafts, all decayed. We did some sampling to the north there, on the north target, where that little purple dot is there, and got 14.95 grams gold in the mullock from one of the old little shafts out there, again being thrown away. So there's a lot of opportunity here. Regional potential remains largely untested by modern methods, and we're here to change that. I'll just show you a bit of a slice along strike of that as well, with the long section of that deposit, just to show you what it looks like in profile. Again, you know, it's pretty significant. It's over 700 metres of mineralised strike extent. Little juniors like us probably can't afford to go and drill 1 kilometre holes at depth at the moment, but we'd probably be keen to go and do so at some point. But our aim is to go and drill along strike, do air core programs. They're quite cheap and cheerful, give you lots of decent results. But you can see all the shafts there, and at some point we'll come back and drill those deep and more expensive holes. But there's certainly a lot of opportunity there. Just moving to Western Australia now. This is a big focus for us going forward. We have in gold, up in the purple there, it's the joint venture with Catalyst Metals. We're a 20% free carried interest. They're very active in the region from the news, a very successful company in their own right at the moment. And we have significant tenure along strike and with them in that world-class gold province. In the sort of light blue area, we have the Briar project there, which is iron ore. And we have mapped iron ore over a 2 kilometre strike extent. It sits on a granted mining lease. And base metals, we formerly had a joint venture with Sandfire until they finished mining at DeGrussa and they moved offshore, and they'd spent about 18 million on exploration in the database that we now control. And it's a significant data set to look forward with exploration. I'll just zoom in on that area as well. It's a very important area around Meekatharra as well, because as you can see, we're blessed with infrastructure, lots of decent roads. There's processing infrastructure down the road there at Bluebird with Westgold and with Andy Well, and a few other people sort of talking later today will focus on this area too. So just looking at the area with the joint venture there, the dark blue, or light blue rather, is the Catalyst joint venture we have, as said, free carried. We have a 1% NSR on that, on the Hermes deposit as well, to the north, which Catalyst has in their pipeline for development. And then we have our green area down there, which is the area we got from Sandfire, and it has the Valley Bore asset on that, which is outcropping iron ore, grades over 60 to 65%, which in my view hasn't been held in the hands of a junior for a long time in terms of these grades. They're direct shippable grades, and it's all close to major roads, so it's development ready. I'll just zoom in on the Valley Bore iron ore section there, just to go and show you what we're up to there. So this was back in 2009. Alchemy was about to go and drill these projects, and at the same time, in May 2009, I think it was, some guys up the road drilled some RC holes and discovered the DeGrussa copper mine. So pretty much the whole company dropped everything and went straight on into copper gold exploration, and that's sat dormant since then. It features the Valley Bore asset there, which is, as mentioned, iron ore, 65% grade rock chips over 2 kilometres in strike. It's on a granted mining lease. It's 8 kilometres from a major road. And if it was about 100 kilometres closer to port, it would have been mined 15 years ago. We are adjacent to major players such as Sino Steel Midwest. They have a deposit down the road, and we have maiden drilling planned on this already, and we're sorting it into our exploration pipeline. I'll just zoom in on that Valley Bore prospect polygon in there, and I'll show you what sort of grades we're looking at. So the Southern Ridge target, which is the sort of bottom box there we've dotted the outline on, mineralisation is 20 to 80 metres wide. That box alone probably goes about 700 metres long. Rock chip assays up to 65.3. Low impurities, low alumina, low silica, low phosphorus. These are all the things you need to have a marketable product. And mineralisation does continue undercover there to the southwest, up to 3 kilometres away. So there's lots to find here. The important thing is it's on a granted mining lease, which means we do flora and fauna. Well, we've got to drill it first. I might say it's never been drilled. And we drill it, flora and fauna. Realistically, there's a development option here near term if you can do it within 2 years, we'd say, speculatively, pending permitting. So these are the sort of things that we can get going with the right kind of partner, and we're looking at those options now. Just moving down to Kalgoorlie, this was formerly the focus for the company, but it's now more joint venture area, and we're focusing on more of the copper gold assets elsewhere. But we have the Coroni gold and lithium project. Again, the lithium was found by default of more exploration on the ground. Our ground sits and surrounds the Mana lithium deposit owned by Global Lithium, and we discovered pegmatites on our ground. We had a chat with JOGMEC and we formed a joint venture where they're going to spend $6 million to earn in for 51% of the project over 5 years. So it's great to have that kind of funding commitment from them, turning that ground over and looking for lithium. We've just finished drilling on an air core program on that, and we look to share the results of that when they come out. Up towards Lake Rebecca, another interesting area. We're sandwiched between two of the majors with Crusoe Dam, owned by Northern Star, and Ramelius at Rebecca, and we have a big chunk of the ground in between there as well. Largely greenfields exploration, lots of air core, lots of shallow drilling that was largely ineffective and tightly held by the large mining companies, and we've got a big chunk of that ground in between. Just looking at the Roe Hills joint venture with the JOGMEC, Japanese government. As mentioned, we surround Mana there. Mana's the little red icon in there. We've got 3 of our targets, T1, T2 and T3. We've drilled those and finished up on Monday, I think it was, with the air core program. And the assays, obviously, with pending as well. We'll look to share those when they come out. And soil sampling, geophysics, structural mapping, all identified very similar characteristics to the Mana lithium deposit along similar trends. We have outcropping pegmatites on that ground as well. And it's just a function of drilling them to see what you can find. So hopefully we'll have some success with that, and all the while surrounding a nearby mine with the Mana lithium deposit. Just looking up at Lake Rebecca to the north, this was a particularly interesting area, it still is. We had a discovery nearby us with the Kalgoorlie gold mining guys with the Lighthorse gold discovery that set the market on fire recently, and we've got all the ground nearby on very similar structural trends there. In gold, you can see all the yellow outlines is all our gold targets there, but the thing that hampers exploration up there is that it sits a lot under transported cover, so it occludes any sort of geochemical signatures in there, so you just really got to get in there and map it and then drill it. And we're factoring it into our pipeline of assets as we go forwards, but as mentioned earlier, we're focusing more on the near-term development assets at the moment. So in terms of the pipeline of news flow for Alchemy going forwards, obviously the lithium targets, we've just finished drilling with air core drilling there with JOGMEC. We'll follow that up with RC drilling coming into October, and then we'll plan follow-up once we actually have the assays in hand. The gold targets, they just keep getting turned over. It's more mapping, more sampling, and targeting for Coroni and Lake Rebecca throughout the rest of this year. The Catalyst joint venture just keeps going. We're free carried interest, which is great. And then we'll look at trying to go and get some rigs into Valley Bore with the iron ore in the next couple of months or so as we sort them in after the other programs we're doing. At Yellow Mountain, as mentioned, RC drilling was just recently finished, and we'll plan follow-up once we get assays on that. And at Overflow, similarly, we'll do some more mapping and then plan for follow-up drilling in the later this year or early the new year. So we have a fair bit going on. So what do you get for Alchemy? Obviously, it's a unique position with significant strategic tenure in key precious base and critical metals belts, and that's not wrong. We have a lot of stuff everywhere. We've got an experienced team with proven M&A, and we've got an operational track record with our directors being associated with some very, very big corporate transactions. And we've got growth opportunities leveraged to exploration success. We've got the iron ore that could turn into a development. We've got any of the high-grade copper gold in New South Wales that could deliver on assays, and hopefully fingers crossed that they do. So yeah, if you have interest, please come by and have a chat at the booth and follow the story. And thank you for your time today. Cheers.